and sports junkies' finest, giving you wagering advice and sports analysis. It's On the Switch with your host, Gino G.
Episode 32, everybody. Welcome back to On the Switch Show. I'm your host, Gino, as always. What up, Trev?
What's up?
Bro, week 2, college football. We went 10-5, plus 12.3 units if you follow us on Twitter at OnTheSwitch1. You can also follow me at DeVilleKY32. I was super impressed with our picks. I know 10-5 is not great, but plus 12.3 units, so all of our big bets were winners. That's good news.
Absolutely.
Looking forward to week 2. I love a couple of games. Now, we'll go over a couple of those games, but if you don't stay with us at On The Switch 1, we'll be tweeting out more trends and more selections as the week goes on. So if you don't already follow us on Twitter, make sure you do that so you can keep up with everything that we have content-wise that we post out on Twitter. We always talk about value, and we have to mention Shady Rays. It's unbelievable. At Shady Rays, I don't care what kind of lifestyle you have. Shady Rays has a pair of sunglasses for you. They have polarized sunglasses for as low as $40. Are you kidding me? $40. Listen to this. Free lifetime craftsmanship warranty. They give a 25% discount to military, both active and retired. On top of all of that, if you lose, break, or have your sunglasses stolen, all you have to do is contact Shady Rays and they will replace those sunglasses for you. On top of all of that, if you want to get behind an independent company like Shady Rays, how about this? They give 11 meals to fight hunger for every purchase.
That's the crazy part.
It's insane. Listen, this is not only a company that gives you value, right? When it comes to sunglasses for a price point that is,
phenomenal.
Yeah, affordable for every walk of life. But then they are so great to the community with military discount. Then they want to help the world by fighting hunger. 11 meals for every purchase. Head over to ShadyRays.com. Use promo code SWITCH to get an exclusive buy one, get one free pair of sunglasses today. Do it. Week 2 in college football, though, I'm going to go over 6 games. We'll talk about 6 games, the most important games in my mind this week in college football. It might be a little bit down from the standpoint of not a whole lot of 2 top 25 teams going at it, but a lot of key games going forward for a lot of teams. This could be a key game for, I guess, to get a lot of middle-of-the-road teams maybe to the next level. Maybe could give them a boost. And we'll start off right off the bat. How about Duke and Northwestern? And we mentioned this in the last episode. Duke handily beat Army, although there was maybe a little bit of sketchiness at times on the defensive side of the ball. Northwestern, on the other hand, handed it to Purdue, held on late. They were up big at halftime, didn't score after halftime. Rondale Moore, we talked about him for Purdue, serious. And here's the issue that I have in this game. When Duke looks at that tape, how can they mimic Rondale Moore? That's the key. They couldn't stop him. Rondale Moore, serious, super fast, small. So what is Duke going to do to mimic that? How about a guy named Aaron Young, junior, wide receiver, small guy, speedy guy, a guy who they use on all deep routes, and a guy that they can give to, not necessarily in the backfield, but on reverses, some of these quick screens, bubble screens, stuff like that. Aaron Young will be the guy that Duke uses to try and mimic Rondale Moore. Will he be as effective? I don't know. Currently, the line is Northwestern minus 2.5. The over-under is 48.5. To me, just off the top, I don't know how you don't take the over. Right. Both teams like to score. Both teams have what I would consider dynamic quarterbacks, right? I'm a little concerned with the health of Clayton Thorson for Northwestern. You saw a lot of TJ Green, or a lot more of TJ Green than I thought anybody would expect. But I think they're, what do they call it in baseball? Giving them reps, right? Only so many reps. Or like in basketball, you have a guy coming off an injury. You only want to give them so many minutes. Then afterwards, maybe as the season goes on, you release more minutes and more minutes and more minutes to this guy. Clayton Thorson, when the game was on the line, Clayton Thorson was in the game against Purdue. I would like to see him play a little bit more because they were so much more effective with him in the game. On the other side, you have Daniel Jones for Duke, quarterback, dynamic in the pass game, or getting better. How about that? He has a strong arm, an arm that can throw the ball deep to a guy like Aaron Young, right? Also, dynamic with his feet. Not necessarily as fast as a guy like Lamar Jackson or like the kid from UConn, but this guy is effective. He's smart. Obviously, he goes to Duke. He's a 4.0 student. So the guy is super smart, athletic, and he is quick. He's not super fast, but he is quick. So as far as running the ball, the dynamic between him running and passing is something that is going to be super key in this game. The linebacking core have to be on point, tackling on point as well. To me, as I said, and I mentioned, I'm going to lean over 48.5 in this game. If you force me to bet the actual game line, I'm probably going to take the home team Northwestern, lay the 2.5, but I really like the 48.5 over and under. The second game I want to talk about is something that we mentioned on the last podcast, and that's just the fact that we have one team who's played and one team who hasn't played. This game being Colorado at Nebraska. Nebraska 3.5-point favorite. The over-under has moved from 59.5 to 65. I find that part quite significant. We know Scott Frost, first year at Nebraska, his alma mater, he wants to play this run 7,846 plays every single game. He wants to score a bunch of points. Obviously, when he was at UCF, averaging 50 points a game. He wants to do the same thing, mimic the same offense at UCF here at Nebraska. He has a freshman quarterback in Martinez that I think I would have liked to seen in the first game, although it was canceled due to lightning. It's a guy that is going to be dynamic with his feet. He has a fairly decent arm, but I think that's the biggest question mark. How good is his arm really? We'll find that out in this game. Colorado played Colorado State and absolutely shellacked them. I mean, smacked them from go. Montez was great. The issue that I have, and I've mentioned this on so many podcasts, and I'm going to continue mentioning it. When Montez struggles, he's a head case. He has to keep his head on straight in this game if they want to have any chance. I'm going to lean, as we've seen with some of the teams that played, I forget what they call it, ground zero or whatever. Not the first week, but the week before that. There was a lot of teams that had success. Like, if you had success in that ground zero week, you had success the very next week. If you didn't have success, you didn't have success that next week. Colorado was extremely sharp against Colorado State. I would expect them to be extremely sharp in this game as well. Both offenses should be prolific. I don't necessarily know if 65 is a good number. It seems a little high on the high end. But I think the buzz around Frost, the type of offense that he runs, and then the type of offense that Colorado runs with Montez keying all of that, I think this is the reason why it's gone from 59.5 to 65. To me, personally, when I look at this, I'm going to take the 3.5. I'm going to take Colorado, but I believe in Montez after week one and the production that he had. I'm going to take maybe a little bit of the fact that Nebraska didn't get to play week one. Maybe they're not as sharp coming out into this game. So I'm going to take the 3.5, play Colorado. I believe in Montez, although it does look like on paper, if it plays out exactly how it should, on paper, this game should go way over. Way over. I'm not going to play it, but it's something to keep an eye on because I could see both teams being extremely successful on the offensive side of the ball. So if I get a wild hair up my ass or something like that, I might play a single unit on the over just because. But I'm going to take the 3.5, take Colorado. A team that was sharp in week one should be sharp this week as well.
Who we got next?
All right. Iowa State. My grandfather, I think we talked about this before.
Yeah.
My grandfather went to Iowa.
Right.
From Iowa City. Loves the Hawkeyes. This game is always super meaningful for everybody in the state of Iowa. For the most part, in Iowa, all you have is cornfields. After cornfields. After cornfields. After cornfields, okay? So this game, Ames, Iowa City, both towns are just insane about this game. Iowa State comes in, again, another team didn't play last week. Iowa did play. Although at halftime, if I'm not mistaken, it could have been 10-0, but I believe that it was 3-0 at halftime. They ended up winning 33-0. So they did have a little firepower in the second half, but I'm concerned with the ability to score points on the offensive side of the ball for Iowa. When you look at the line, Iowa's -4. The over-under's 46.5. I'm hard-pressed, although Iowa State's defense is not going to be as successful as they were last season. I am hard-pressed to think that this game is going to go over 46.5. Right. Again, Iowa struggled in the first half scoring points. If you can't score points in week 1 against an FCS school, how in the hell are you scoring points against Iowa State? Rivalry game, it's typically going to be a little bit slow. They kind of want to feel each other out. It's like a boxing match, right? Just no big blows, just kind of, a couple shots to the gut, and just kind of get a feel for everything. And then fourth quarter time is hammer down. Whatever's working, we're going to run it every time until you stop it. I see this game being something like 17-14, 20-14, 20-17, 20-13, something like that. Game 46.5, no way. Although I'm not necessarily going all in on the under here, but I will be playing as one of my bigger bets this Saturday on the under Iowa State. I think both offenses have question marks. I think the defenses are the strength for both of these teams. I just don't see them getting 46.5. It just seems far-fetched to me.
I mean, I'm with you on that one.
So let's go to what will be the Saturday night game. ESPN, Clemson at Texas A&M. We talked about Texas A&M. Jimbo Fisher.
Right, can't get away.
He can't get away from Clemson. It's like Florida State. Well, Florida State, Clemson, it's the big game in the ACC. Right? Now he goes to Texas A&M. Oh, we're never playing Clemson.
Still a big game.
Well, here we go. You get him at home. He has a chance to immediately say, hey, big win. Here we go. Second game right out of the box. Clemson. You have an opportunity to just blow away fans immediately, just like that. I will tell you this. Although they were successful in their week 1 game against an FCS school on the offensive side of the ball, it took them a little while to get going. Mond was good. Don't get me wrong. But when you look at the front 7 especially in this game, Mond's going to have to, I don't want to say run for his life, but he's going to have to take the opportunities with his legs to kind of stretch out plays, get to the outside, cause some ruckus, cause some breakdowns in the defense. They're not going to be able to line up, run a straight play, and have success against this defense. Not going to happen. There's going to have to be breakdowns. He's going to have to run for his life in a sense and make plays with his arm. Otherwise, it's going to be a long night for Texas A&M. Clemson, sharp week 1, which to be expected, I think, and we're going to get to a game in which there was 2 teams that weren't good and then another game in which there was 2 teams that were successful. But I think when a team like Clemson plays a way inferior opponent, they always look super good. I'm interested to see, is Dabo ever changing quarterbacks at any point in this game? Or is he just going with one guy, most likely Kelly Bryant,
right,
and just, hey, no matter what happens, this is where we're going. And then if perhaps something bad were to happen, we'll go on from this. Listen.
You never know with him.
You really don't. You really don't. Because, I mean, at a flip, he's almost like Saban in a way. You know, flips the script immediately. He's like, you know what? Fuck this. Let's do something else. And then has success, and it's like, now you're in this pickle. But Dabo wants to win, period, in a story. He won a national championship, and ever since then, it's what he's been about. And I dig that. I dig that.
For sure.
The current line is Clemson minus 12.5 The over-under is 54.
Oh, wow.
Okay. I'm going to lay the points and take Clemson.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you have to, right? I mean, given the history and the uncertainty of Texas A&M with Jimbo Fisher, and he doesn't, not necessarily his players.
I don't disagree with you. I think even another point further than that is you look at Clemson's defense and you're like,
rock solid.
Yeah, I mean, how are you going to score? And Jimbo knows. Like, ask him last year at Florida State, that game. Shellac. I mean, dude, it was horrible. But it's just one of those things where you look at everything and it's like, yeah, I think Texas A&M could perhaps have success this season. But in this game particularly, no thanks, man. No thanks. I think Clemson has enough offense. Kelly Bryant. Etienne is still a guy that I think sneaky Heisman candidate. Etienne should have a big game against Texas A&M's defense, which is another thing. I think the biggest key, the obvious key is, can Texas A&M score, right? But I think one past that, it's like, let's say they do score at a decent rate. Let's say they score 20, right? How are you stopping Clemson's offense with that particular defense? Not happening.
I don't think so either.
Not happening. I think Clemson easily scores in the 30s, and I think they can easily hold Texas A&M to 17 points or less. I think this is one of those 37-14 kind of games, and it's really not ever in doubt, really not ever close. So I'm going to lay the 12.5, take Clemson, and it will be one of our plays this weekend. I do. I like Clemson. I like Clemson. One game that I do want to talk about that I don't like at all, although if you had to twist my arm and I had to pick something, I would lean one way, and that's USC at Stanford. Okay. Big game in the Pac-12. Big game. You see Washington, right? Washington lost to Auburn. These two teams, it's their chance to step up and say, hey, we could possibly be the team that makes it to the college football playoff from the Pac-12 because Washington already lost. So these two teams have the opportunity to take a stranglehold on the Pac-12 as for one, and then looking forward to the college football playoff, you can't lose this game.
Right.
Stanford at home, always tough. Here's the thing. If USC wants to win, because offensively they're going to struggle, it's just part of it. USC took them forever to get on track. They have a freshman quarterback. He was sketchy, to say the least. The biggest thing for them, though, if they can hold this to a very, very low-scoring game, that's the only way they're winning. They cannot win in a shootout because it won't be a shootout. It'll be Stanford 40, USC 14.
So defense?
Defense.
Going with the defense?
Listen, USC has to say, look, we're not letting Bryce Love beat us, period. End of story. Love will not beat us today. Costello, with his arm, has to beat us, period. End of story. So I say this. When Stanford had success from the offensive side of the ball in week 1 against San Diego State, right. It wasn't Bryce Love. Bryce Love had nothing. So what did Costello do? They just did an all-go on so many plays, and Costello was just throwing it deep. They drew so many pass interference calls, and they caught balls. That's how they scored against San Diego State. Period. End of story. If it wasn't for the deep ball, Stanford wouldn't have scored in that game. Look, if you take historically Stanford, right, they want to line up and just run it right down your throat.
Right.
Right down your throat. And then all these goofy-ass tight end, little short passes to tight ends, right? That's exactly what they want to do. So that's what they lined up for nearly 3 quarters against San Diego State. That's exactly what they did. They scored 10 points. 10, okay? Finally, Costello was like, screw this. I'm throwing the ball deep. Immediately, boom, success, touchdown. If Stanford comes out immediately, throws the ball deep down the field, USC could be in trouble early and often. So they have to say, look, Bryce Love, not going to beat us. And then once they stop Bryce Love, Stanford only has one choice. That's to throw the ball with Costello. So then if they get in some nickel and dime packages, right, now you're playing off. So Bryce Love does have some room. So you kind of give this, you're playing mind games with the offensive coordinator for Stanford. I think if you play mind games, you'll buy yourself enough time to maybe score a couple of touchdowns, keep this game close. Otherwise, it's going to be a blowout. So if you twisted my arm, I would take Stanford, who is currently minus 5.5. The over-under is 56.5. If you were twisting my arm, I would take Stanford, but I would not love it for 1 second. Okay? And the over-under, I think, is a good line. I think you look at it, the score has to be low if USC wants to have success. But if perhaps it's a blowout, this game's going to go over. It's going to be like 42-17 or 42-20, and the game's going to go over. I don't like the over-under. I can't plan or predict that. But if I had to, like I said, you twist my arm, I'm going to take Stanford and lay the points, especially being at home.
Who we got next?
Okay. Last game. Crazy, okay? Because we talked about in the SEC podcast. The SEC East, for the first time in what seems to be forever, to me, Gino G, wide open. Wide open. You have Florida with Dan Mullen. You don't really know what to expect out of them.
No,
right?
Not at all.
Georgia loses Nick Chubb and Sony Michel, which doesn't include an offensive lineman who is all conference, a wide receiver who is all conference. So, I mean, like, you lose a lot of guys on the offensive side of the ball. So I thought regression from Georgia.
Sure.
USC, not Southern California, the Trojans, but South Carolina, the Gamecocks, return 10 starters on defense, 9 starters on offense, from a team that won 9 games last season. So how about Will Muschamp gets Georgia at home this week? At home.
Ooh, that's a game.
Okay, how about this? This is crazy. This is the most bizarre thing, and this is why when betting games, right, you have to, and this is a tip for everybody out there. If you don't bet, or if you bet leisurely, or you don't bet that often, or it's just like one of those things, you're sitting at home and you want to play $20 on a game, you know? Or if you want to be a daily bettor, you have to look forward and say, wow, Georgia's playing South Carolina at South Carolina. I predict that line to be blank, right? You have to have some sort of recollection of, I wonder what that line would be. And then when the line comes out, you can kind of say, wow, that's like a whole lot one way or another. And you can maybe look through like some history or look at the teams as a whole or try to figure out why is that line lower or higher than what you expected. Or if you're right on it, you're like, okay, I have a good grasp on this game. I thought Georgia 5-point favorite. South Carolina is going to be decent. They're now in the top 25 for the first time this year. Georgia top 5. So it's the only matchup, it's not the only matchup, sadly mistaken, but USC Stanford. But it's one of the only matchups between 2 top 25 schools. At South Carolina, I thought Georgia would give 5. The opening line on this game, 9.
Wow.
I was like, that's a lot.
To a team that's lost so many key players.
That was my point. Now,
like how? What do they know that we don't?
So how about this? Current line is -10. Georgia's -10. Now, look, I might be a little biased because I am way pro South Carolina. Okay, so
yeah, but
even so,
put your bias aside, and it's
10 points in this game.
Value.
Yes.
You go where the value is.
So how about this? And this is obviously going to be a play, and I think anybody who follows us here at the show, which, by the way, if you haven't subscribed to us already, all iOS, Android platforms, follow us. Hit the heart, please, because that's the only way you'll get this podcast in your email. You'll get a notification. We're getting ready to go live.
Live on Facebook, Periscope, and YouTube.
It's going to be nuts. It's going to be crazy, right?
Anyway.
So talk about value, though. This is going to be a game in which I played the money line on South Carolina. Money line meaning South Carolina to win this game outright. I will also be playing the line as well. But to see 10, unbelievable. I was shocked. I was like,
yeah, that's crazy.
No way. No way. Why?
I mean, common sense just tells you to take South Carolina right off the top.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's just, yeah, I like I said, when I first saw it, I was like, I don't even know what to say. Like, how much can I bet? You give me 9 points. How much can I bet?
What's
hey,
the max?
Vegas, what's the max? Because I'm about to take 6, 7, 8, 9 mortgages. All right?
I'm about to shut this bookie down.
Right. I mean, like, come on, bro. Come on. 9? It's a little extreme. 2 big keys. And it's like one for each. Georgia's DBs versus South Carolina's wide receivers. Okay. Bentley, the quarterback for South Carolina, has to make plays with his arm. They can't line it up and run it up the gut every time. It's not going to do anything. Bentley has to make plays with his arm. So guys like Samuel, Edwards, Smith, these guys, key guys for South Carolina if they want to have success. You can't run Dowdle all day, every day. It's not going to work. He will still get his 80, 90, 100 yards, but you can't run him 35 times. It's not going to work. So can Georgia's DBs defend the pass at a high successful rate? If not, South Carolina's going to win this game outright. If they do, then, and here's our other point. Can USC's, South Carolina's front seven, stop the rush attack and that big offensive line that Georgia has? Will they have success getting to the quarterback and stopping Swift? If they can get to Fromm and get to Swift, I'm telling you, South Carolina, money line. South Carolina will win this game outright. Those are the 2 big keys. When you watch this game, I wholeheartedly believe if USC has more passing yards than Georgia and holds Georgia within 100 yards rushing, they will win this game 100%. And if I'm wrong, I will be mind blown. If Bentley has more yards than Fromm and South Carolina's defense can hold Georgia to 100 yards or less rushing, South Carolina will win this game outright. Swift is very, very dynamic. He can catch the ball in the backfield super fast. I mean, Swift is so funny. He has that kind of last name, and he is Swifty, shifty, fast, quick, He's very, very good. But this front seven for South Carolina is really good as well, but they're going to be tested. South Carolina, again, 2 keys. Bentley, got to get outside of the pocket, get him in some rollouts, some easy passes early. Have these wide receivers success. And that goes to another point. The over-under is 56.5 in this game. This game shouldn't even come close to 56.5. There's no way this game goes over, which begs me to believe that perhaps this could be a shootout. And if South Carolina's wide receivers have success and Swift on the other side for Georgia has success running the ball and catching the ball out of the backfield and Fromm goes nuts, this could be back and forth, just touchdowns everywhere.
I mean, I can't wait for the game. It's going to be exciting.
3:30, CBS, be there or be square. Okay?
I'm there.
I will be there.
On my couch.
Listen, we work third shift, right? And I promise you, I will be up by 3:30 with a beer in my hand watching this game, okay?
For breakfast.
Right, exactly. But it's one of those things, it's one of those key games, especially in the SEC East. Whoever wins this game has a stranglehold to get to the SEC championship game. This is the game.
So, join Gino and Travis for breakfast beers and watch the game.
100%. And make sure to jump on South Carolina plus 10. South Carolina plus 10. Drop whatever you want, whatever you can afford. No, it really is. It's one of those things. We should say this all the time. All the information that we give out here at On the Switch is solely our own. Okay? Anything that you bet is on your own as well. We only like giving you advice. Obviously, we tell you the bets that we make. Right? But please, wager responsibly. Bet only money that you can afford.
Don't lose your house.
Right.
Your wife. It's not worth it.
Right. Truthfully, this is all fun, and that's how it's meant to be. So please, I might say, hey, go call your bookie and bet all you want on South Carolina. Not literally, okay? It's just a joke. Please wager responsibly, as always, and everything that we give is just our own information. So that is our key games. But I'm telling you, there will be more that we will cover at On The Switch 1 on our Twitter. So make sure you go over there, drop us a follow. We'll go over some trendy things that are going on. There are a couple of games, the over and unders and the game lines are changing drastically. So we'll go over some of those on our Twitter. And we'll have our bets, all of our bets, for the entire week on Saturday. Stay tuned to our Twitter. From all of us, Travis and myself, here from Louisville, Kentucky, and On The Switch, we love you all as always, and stay with us.